The door to hell, Turkmenistan. Imagine driving across a desert and finding a crater that has been burning for decades. This is the Darvaza gas crater. At first glance, it looks like a portal to another world. Flames roar from a giant hole in the ground, and the glow can be seen from miles away at night. The crater formed during Soviet-era natural gas drilling. Engineers believed the ground collapsed into an underground gas pocket, and the escaping methane was ignited to prevent it from spreading. They expected the fire to burn for days. Instead, it kept burning for years. Whether you call it the door to hell or a geological accident, it remains one of the most alien-looking places on Earth. It is basically a giant natural gas torch that never got turned off. Socotra Island, Yemen. If Earth ever grows its own fantasy forest, this is what it might look like. Socotra is famous for its bizarre dragon blood trees. The umbrella-shaped canopies look almost computer-generated. Many species on the island evolved in isolation from millions of years, creating plants and animals found nowhere else on Earth. The dragon blood tree produces a red resin that has been used historically in dyes, medicine, and varnishes. Combined with the island's harsh climate and isolation, the result is a landscape that resembles concept art from an alien planet. It's basically Earth's own evolutionary laboratory. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. This place is so reflective that it can look like the sky has replaced the ground. Salar de Uyuni is the world's largest salt flat. During the dry season, it becomes a vast white plain stretching to the horizon. After rain, a thin layer of water turns it into a near-perfect mirror. Photographers use the reflection to create surreal images where people appear to walk among clouds. Scientists also use the flat surface to calibrate satellite instruments because it is remarkably uniform. It is basically a giant natural mirror the size of a landscape. Blood Falls, Antarctica. A waterfall pouring out of a glacier sounds like a horror movie. Blood Falls is real. The color comes from iron-rich salty water trapped beneath the glacier. When the water reaches the surface, the iron reacts with oxygen and turns red, creating the appearance of blood flowing from the ice. Researchers have also found unusual microbial life in the isolated subglacial environment, making the site interesting for both geology and astrobiology. It is basically a frozen waterfall stained by iron chemistry. The Rainbow Mountains, China. These hills look as if someone painted them with giant brushes. The Zhangye National Geopark is famous for layered bands of red, yellow, orange, and other colors. The stripes formed over millions of years as different mineral-rich sediments were deposited, compressed, and uplifted. From a distance, the landscape resembles a digital rendering more than a real mountain range. It is basically geology's version of a paint palette. Pamukkale, Turkey. Imagine a frozen waterfall made of white stone. Pamukkale is covered in bright white terraces filled with mineral-rich thermal water. As the water flows downhill, it deposits calcium carbonate, gradually building the terraces and pools. The contrast between turquoise water and brilliant white rock makes the site look almost synthetic. It is basically a staircase built by mineral deposits. The Giant's Causeway, Northern Ireland. Thousands of stone columns rise from the coast like a massive alien construction project. Giant's Causeway consists of about 40,000 interlocking basalt columns. The hexagonal shapes formed when lava cooled and contracted, cracking into regular patterns. Local legend says a giant built the causeway. Geology says volcanic cooling did it. Either way, the result looks engineered rather than natural. It is basically a giant basalt puzzle assembled by physics. White Desert, Egypt. In Egypt's White Desert, chalk formations rise from the sand like giant mushrooms, towers, and frozen clouds. Wind erosion carved these shapes over long periods, producing a landscape that feels more lunar than terrestrial. At sunrise and sunset, the white rock glows against the orange desert, making the scene look almost unreal. It is basically a natural sculpture garden carved by wind. Mount Erebus, Antarctica. A volcano with a permanent lava lake on the frozen continent sounds impossible. Mount Erebus is one of the few volcanoes on Earth known for long-lived lava lake activity. Picture glowing molten rocks surrounded by ice and snow. The contrast is so extreme that many viewers assume the images are edited. It is basically fire and ice sharing the same mountain. Reshot structure, Mauritania. From space, this feature looks like a giant target painted onto the Sahara. The reshot structure is often called the Eye of the Sahara. Early astronauts noticed it because its concentric rings are visible from orbit. Despite popular myths, it is not an impact crater from a giant meteor. The structure formed through a combination of uplift and erosion, exposing different rock layers. Its scale is so enormous that you barely appreciate the pattern from the ground. It is basically a giant geological bullseye visible from space.